So today, WWE 2K23 finally releases. Or at least if you had pre-ordered either the deluxe or the icon edition of the game, while the standard version releases Friday, March 17th, which also so happens to be the same day as St. Patrick's Day, the 21st anniversary of WrestleMania 18, and my buddy Robbie D's birthday, which, happy early birthday, pal. See you this weekend. But I digress. I'm DK Wrestler, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at the entire roster for WWE 2K23 and seeing which superstars already have Funko Pops for the WWE lineup. So let's check it out. Alrighty, so we are on the SmackDownHotel.com as our source, considering that the actual 2K website actually doesn't have photos, it's just a list of names. So I thought I would show photos instead, and I guess we'll go right in order of what we have here. So the first, I guess, superstar that's shown off is Adam Pearce, which is just basically a manager. Does not have a Funko Pop, and I don't think he ever will have a Funko Pop. But then we have the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, who does have one Funko Pop in the set, and I think he's due for another one very soon, in my opinion. Akira Tozawa does not have a Funko Pop. Elba Fire does not have a Funko Pop. Alexa Bliss, however, has 4 Funko Pops. There is an original one, and then we got 3 new ones recently released with more of like the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse version with a Chase. Aaliyah does not have a Funko Pop. Andre Chase, who's in NXT, does not have a Funko Pop. Andre the Giant has multiple Funko Pops. You had the original one that was a 4-inch, that was like, it should have been a 6-inch. Then they released one that was a 6-inch figure. And then I guess the newest one is the in-ring moments with Hulk Hogan. That was a TargetCon exclusive, which I do enjoy. Angel does not have a Funko Pop. Angelo Dawkins does have a Funko Pop, and so does his tag team partner that we will discuss about momentarily. Apollo Crews does not have a Funko Pop. Ashante Adonis does not have a Funko Pop. Asuka actually, I believe, has 4 Funko Pops herself. They made one early on in 2018, along with a couple of exclusives that went to, I think, Walmart and Target. You'll see some of the photos on the screen, plus a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And then there was one released during a recent wave, not the most recent, but one of the more recent waves of the WWE lineup. Austin Theory does not have a Funko Pop, but I do believe that he is bound to get one soon since he is the United States champion at the moment. I don't think it's going to be the next wave, but I think it may be the wave after that we would get an Austin Theory Funko Pop. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I know he's in NXT. He doesn't have a Funko Pop. B-Fab doesn't have a Funko Pop. Bad Bunny, the pre-order bonus for the game, in a way has a Funko Pop. He doesn't have one for the WWE lineup, but he does have one with his character, the Wolf, in the movie Bullet Train. So technically, Bad Bunny does have a Funko Pop, not for WWE, but one for a movie. And he doesn't even have one for music either. Batista, he does have one Funko Pop, and I feel Batista is due to have a new one because that Batista wasn't honestly the greatest looking pop. I think we can get a younger one in the near future. Maybe an Evolution 4-pack would be sweet. And then we got Leviathan Batista, which will probably never get a Funko Pop, but it's cool that this version of Batista is in the game when you get the Icon Edition. Bayley has one Funko Pop, and of course it is a Toys R Us exclusive. It is the Hugger version, but I do think down the line we will get a Bayley Pop with, I guess, her more current gimmick. Becky Lynch does have a few Funko Pops. You had the original one with like her one-piece outfit, and then you have the Man t-shirt version, Amazon exclusive, and then the Becky 2 Belts Pop that recently released for TargetCon 2022, and I think definitely she will have more in the future. Beth Phoenix does not have a Funko Pop, but I'm surprised that she doesn't, considering of her recent matches that she's had with Edge within the last year or so. Bianca Belair has 2 Funko Pops, both of them being her WrestleMania 37 and WrestleMania 38 attires respectively. Who knows, maybe the 3rd Bianca Belair Funko Pop, if there will be one, will be whatever her attire is at WrestleMania 39. Big Boss Man does not have a Funko Pop, but I'm sure that he will be made into Funko Pop form at some point, especially if you have the version of him with the 80s attire, and then you have the Attitude Era version as maybe a chase to that. Big E has multiple Funko Pops, whether it is the New Day multi-packs or he does have the singular one in the white attire. Blair Davenport, who was in NXT UK, I believe, and now is just in regular NXT, does not have a Funko Pop. I don't see it anytime soon. Bobby the Brain Heenan, who is a manager in the game, It is surprising he does not have a Funko Pop. I feel he is well overdue for a Funko Pop. He definitely deserves it. One of the greatest managers, maybe the greatest manager in WWE and all of pro wrestling. Bobby Lashley does not have a Funko Pop, but I do think within the next couple of waves, he probably will have his own Funko Pop. Boogeyman does not have a Funko Pop. Booker T, surprisingly, does not have a Funko Pop. Braun Strowman does have one Funko Pop, and I don't know the next time Braun Strowman will have a Funko Pop. Bray Wyatt has multiple Funko Pops, whether it is the Eater of Worlds version or the two different versions of The Fiend, and I'm sure Bray Wyatt at some point, wouldn't even be surprised if it's the next wave of WWE Pops that he will get another one. Bret the Hitman Hart has multiple pops, whether it's the OG one, you had the one in the jacket they did, and then the in-ring moments with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and I'm sure we're going to see one in the near future again. Brie Bella has multiple Funko Pops, whether it's the singular one from the Total Divas lineup, or there is the multi-packs with her sister, Nikki. British Bulldog, this is a funny story because I believe the people who run the British Bulldogs Twitter account had confirmed that WWE and Funko were making a pop of them at some point, and it just never happened. They mentioned it on their Twitter, so maybe in the next couple of ways we'll finally get it, but at the moment it doesn't seem likely. Brock Lesnar has two Funko Pops in the lineup, one from one of the OG waves of WWE where he has the black and red MMA pants, and then you basically have Farmer Brock Lesnar as an Amazon exclusive that was released last year. And then speaking of younger Brock Lesnar's with 01 and 03, I would like to see an 03 Brock Lesnar be made at some point, even with that original like undisputed championship belt. Braun Breaker does not have a Funko Pop, but I believe he probably will once he makes his main roster debut since he is in NXT. Bruno Sammartino does not have a Funko Pop, but I feel maybe at some point he will. Brutus Creed, who is a part of, I believe, Diamond Mine in NXT, does not have a Funko Pop, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Butch, formerly known as Pete Dunne, does not have a Funko Pop, and I felt like if they would have made a Butch/Pete Dunne Funko Pop, it would have been when he was Pete Dunne. Cactus Jack has a Funko Pop that's a GameStop exclusive. I believe it's a pop and pin bundle. He's holding the trash can, and I guess we'll also mention that the other Faces of Foley like Dude Love and Mankind have had Funko Pops, but I believe that those gimmicks are not actually a part of this game, which is a little bit disappointing since my favorite Face of Foley is Dude Love. Cameron Grimes, who is in NXT, does not have a Funko Pop. Carmella does not have a Funko Pop. Carmelo Hayes does not have a Funko Pop. Cedric Alexander does not have a Funko Pop. Chad Gable does not have a Funko Pop. And if there were to be a Funko Pop made, it would be probably a 2-pack with Otis as a part of Alpha Academy. Next up, we have the Queen Charlotte Flair, who has a couple of Funko Pops. There's a regular one and then a Foot Locker exclusive. And then there's that gold 2-pack with Ric Flair, which I didn't like that. Chyna has one Funko Pop, surprisingly. Cody Rhodes does have a Funko Pop for WWE that was recently announced at Funko Fair, and before that he had a New Japan Pro Wrestling Pop, which I believe that makes Cody Rhodes the first and only WWE superstar to have two Funko Pops from two separate wrestling companies, which is pretty cool. Commander Aziz does not have a Funko Pop, and that's the same with Cora Jade, Cruz, Della Toro, Dakota Kai, Damian Priest. Hopefully he'll get one for Judgment Day. Damon Kemp does not, Dana Brooke does not, and I don't think she ever will. Dexter Lumis does not, but would be really cool if he had one. Diesel does have a Funko Pop, and we'll discuss about the fact that he has a Chase later on. Doink the Clown does not have a Funko Pop, and I don't think he ever will. Dolph Ziggler is a little bit of a mystery because a lot of people think that he was the number 22 Pop that was never made when there was a 21, and then they skipped to 23. Dominic Mysterio, I feel like, could be made, whether it's his normal self or Judgment Day version. Dewdrop, well, if there is a pop made, it wouldn't be under Dewdrop, considering it was just renamed back to Piper Niven. Drew Gulak doesn't have one, and I don't think he ever will. Drew McIntyre does have one Funko Pop, and I don't know the next time he will have another one. Eddie Guerrero has two, I believe, with the singular one with the Pop and Pin bundle and the Pop Rides with the Lowrider. Edge has one Funko Pop, and that is to commemorate his return back at the Royal Rumble 2020. There's younger Edge that would be cool later on. Elias has one Funko Pop, and I don't know the likeliness of him ever getting another one. Elton Prince from NXT does not have a Funko Pop. Eric Bischoff would be really cool to have a Funko Pop eventually. Eric does not have one. Eve Torres does not have one. Ezekiel does not have one, which would be very funny if they eventually did an Elias and Ezekiel 2-pack. Farouk surprisingly does not have one, but I'm sure if they make an APA 2-pack eventually, it would happen. Finn Balor has multiples, whether it's just regular version, and then there's even like the Balor Club version, Amazon exclusive, but then there is the multiple demon versions, which I believe there's also a chase involved with that set. Gigi Dolan does not have a Funko Pop. Maybe she will eventually. Giovanni Vinci does not, and neither does his teammates as a part of Imperium. Goldberg has one Funko Pop, and in my opinion, I feel they shouldn't make another one after that one. Grayson Waller does not have a Funko Pop. Gunther does not have a Funko Pop. I just mentioned about with Giovanni Vinci and eventually Ludwig Kaiser. Hopefully there's an Imperium 3-pack at some point. Happy Corbin does not have a Funko Pop, and I feel like at this point he will never have a Funko Pop. I mean, they could have made a Funko Pop of him when he won Money in the Bank in 2017, but they didn't. Harley Race does not have a Funko Pop. I feel like that could be something that's made eventually. Hollywood Hogan does have a Funko Pop when you would have bought the collector's edition for WWE 2K15, which I wish I had bought the 2K15 collector's edition. I only bought the normal game, and especially at the time, I don't think I was collecting Pops when that came out, or else I would have gotten that. Regular old Hulk Hogan does have a Funko Pop, actually multiple Funko Pops. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you'll see through the screen that there were multiples. Umberto does not have one. Ilya Dragunov does not have one. Indy Hartwell does not have one. Ivar does not have one. Ivy Nile doesn't have one. Io Sky doesn't have one. Jason Jane doesn't have one. Jake the Snake Roberts has a Funko Pop along with a chase. And then JBL does not have a Funko Pop, neither with this gimmick or as Bradshaw for the APA, like I mentioned with Farouk. Then we got JD McDonough, or Jordan Devlin as his original name was. I hate the new name. Does not have a Funko Pop. Jean-Paul Levesque. I didn't know that this was a character in the game. There's no rating, so maybe he was a part of the DLC that's coming out, but there's no DLC logo in the background like you see with some of these characters, so that's interesting. No Funko Pop of him, but there is of the gimmick of Triple H. Jerry the King Lawler does have one Funko Pop, but I don't see the likeliness of them making another. Jay and Jimmy, I'm going to mention at the same time, it is a travesty that the Usos do not have Funko Pops yet, especially with the ongoing Bloodline storyline. They've made multiple Roman Reigns. If they are not in the next wave, I'm going to be super angry. Jim the Anvil Neidhart does not have a Funko Pop, at least yet. I think eventually they will do a Hart Foundation 2-pack with another version of Bret Hart. Jinder Mahal does not have one, and I don't think he ever will. The perfect timing would have been when he won the WWE Championship in 2017. Joaquin Wilde does not have one. Joe Gacy does not have one, but John Cena has multiple Funko Pops. There's too many to list down, but there is a lot that they have made. Johnny Gargano does not have a Funko Pop, but I think he will get one eventually. Julius Creed, I already mentioned about his tag team partner earlier for Diamond Mine, does not have a Funko Pop. Kane has one Funko Pop, and it is actually my favorite attire of Kane back in 2002 during the Ruthless Aggression era, and I do enjoy that one, and I own it. And I actually didn't even know that Kane 08 was a part of this game, which is going to be really interesting to play as. Carl Anderson does not have a Funko Pop, and neither does his partner Luke Gallows, but I think they will eventually, especially if they make a new AJ Styles and they can make an OC multi-pack. Karrion Kross does not have a Funko Pop, but I think he will eventually. Katana Chance does not have one. Caden Carter doesn't have one. Kevin Nash does have a Funko Pop because it is the chase to the Diesel Pop that I mentioned earlier. Kevin Owens has one Funko Pop, and I don't know the likeliness of them making another one because he hasn't really changed his appearance much. Kit Wilson does not have a Funko Pop. Kofi Kingston has multiple Funko Pops, whether once again it is New Day multi-packs or it is the regular version in the white attire. Kurt Angle has one Funko Pop, and I think Kurt Angle is due to have a couple of more, especially at a time when he had hair, or maybe like during the Ruthless Aggression era. LA Knight, yeah. I mean, I want to say yeah, but he doesn't have a Funko Pop, so no. But do I want to see one in the future? Yeah. Lacey Evans does not have a Funko Pop, and I don't know when they'll make one of her. Lita This is one that I keep mentioning that they should make because they've made 2 Trish Stratus pops, but they haven't made a Lita yet, which is a little bit disappointing. Liv Morgan does not have a Funko Pop, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made one of her in the next couple of waves. Logan Paul, unfortunately, is someone that I do believe is probably in the works right now of getting their own Funko Pop for WWE. I mean, I don't know the likeliness of Logan Paul getting one for like his YouTube career. Ludwig Kaiser, I already mentioned about him when talking about Gunther and Giovanni Vinci. Luke Gallows, I mentioned about while talking about Carl Anderson. Massey probably will never get his own Funko Pop, and he doesn't have one. Macho Man Randy Savage has so many Funko Pops. There's too many to list, like Macho King Randy Savage, the version with him in the pink attire, and there's still room for more Macho Man Pops. Madcap Moss does not have one, and I don't think he ever will. Mansoor will never have one, most likely, like his partner Massey. Maurice does not have one, surprisingly. I'm surprised they didn't make one for her separately or in a multi-pack with her husband, The Miz. Matt Riddle has one Funko Pop, but with the recent controversy involving him right now, I don't know the likeliness of one being made of him again anytime soon. Mighty Molly, I don't think she is a playable character. I think it's during one of the My Rise career modes. Speaking of Molly Holly, does not have a Funko Pop, could be made eventually. Montez Ford, I mentioned about when talking about Angelo Dawkins. They are tag team partners. They made singular pops. Surprised they didn't make a multi-pack of them. Mr. Rickman actually has his own Funko Pop, surprisingly. There is a common one with a blue jacket, and then there is the pink jacket or salmon jacket as the chase. I guess it shows Vince McMahon again here as a manager. Mustafa Ali does not have a Funko Pop. MVP doesn't have a Funko Pop. Natalia, I've been wanting Funko to make in pop form for a long time, but I'm starting to give up at this point and I don't think they ever will make a Natalia pop. Nathan Frazier does not have a Funko Pop. He's in NXT, I believe. Nikki ASH does not have a Funko Pop, but would be cool eventually if they did like Nikki Cross and then Nikki ASH as the chase. Nikki Bella, like I mentioned with Brie, they have singular pops within the Total Divas lineup, but then multi-packs together. Nikita Lyons does not have a pop. She's in NXT. Noam Dar, I'm surprised, still even works for WWE, so he doesn't have a Funko Pop, and I don't think he ever will. Omos doesn't have a Funko Pop. Could see one eventually, though. Otis does have a Funko Pop of him with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which was released so late to the point to when he actually lost the briefcase by the time they released the pop. Paul Heyman does have a Funko Pop back in the ECW days. Would be cool to see one maybe in a 2-pack with Brock Lesnar or in a multi-pack with Roman Reigns. Queen Zelina Vega does not have a Funko Pop, nor I don't think she ever will, even with the Queen outfit. R-Truth does not have a Funko Pop. Randy Orton has 2 Funko Pops. They made one where he's doing his pose and then more of the RK Bro version to go along with the Riddle. There's a younger version. Raquel Rodriguez does not have a pop. Razor Ramon has a pop. There's 2 versions. One of them they made early on, which has a chase that we'll discuss about later on. And then we have a metallic version, I almost forgot about it, in one of the more recent waves of WWE Pops. Reggie does not have a Funko Pop. I don't think he ever will. Rey Mysterio does have his own Funko Pop. He has multiple different Funko Pops, even a newer version. I don't know why Rey Mysterio is actually listed on here. It's weird that they're adding it on the site. Rhea Ripley just got announced with her own Funko Pop as a part of the newest wave of WWE Pops. Glad she has her own pop. Rick Boogs does not have his own Funko Pop, and I don't think he'll have one anytime soon. Rick Steiner doesn't have a Funko Pop. Ricochet doesn't have one. Ridge Holland doesn't have one. Rikishi surprisingly doesn't have one. RVD does have a Funko Pop. It's a GameStop exclusive with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and it's a pop and pin bundle for WrestleMania 22. Robert Roode does not have a Funko Pop. Roman Reigns has multiple Funko Pops where they have the original one that's, I think, either number 21 or 23. And then they started recently making ones of, you know, head of the table, he's holding the title, and then like there's a Pop and Tea bundle version. Ronda Rousey has her own WWE Pop and her own UFC Funko Pops. So they have those ones, but I don't know the likeliness of them making another one anytime soon. Roddy Piper has a Funko Pop, not in the version that the photo shows here, but back in the 80s where he's wearing the kilt and has the longer hair. Roxanne Perez is in NXT. I don't think she's going to have a Funko Pop anytime soon. Sami Zayn is someone that doesn't have a Funko Pop, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's made in the next wave or two. Santos Escobar does not have a Funko Pop. Scarlett does not have one, unless maybe eventually they'll do a multi-pack with Karrion Kross. We got Scott Hall, which is the chase figure to the Razor Ramon that I talked about earlier. Scott Steiner does not have a pop. Seth freaking Rollins does have 2 pops. There's an original one with the black attire and then the FYE exclusive with the white attire, but he's due to have multiple versions at some point. Shane McMahon doesn't have a pop. Shanky does not have a pop. Shawn Michaels has multiple Funko Pops, whether it is like 94 Michaels, you have the WrestleMania 12 Shawn Michaels, both singular and the in-ring moments that I talked about with Bret Hart earlier. And then I believe there is the DX versions now as I think about it. Shayna Baszler does not have a Funko Pop, but I do see one being made if they do a multi-pack with Ronda Rousey. Sheamus has only 1 Funko Pop, and it was one of the very first WWE Pops ever made. Shelton Benjamin does not have a Funko Pop. Shinsuke Nakamura has 1 Funko Pop, and I don't think they'll ever make another one, in my opinion. Shotzi does not have a Funko Pop. Solo Sikoa does not have a Funko Pop, but could be made because he's part of the bloodline. Sonya Deville doesn't have one. Stacy Keibler does not have one. Stephanie McMahon, I'm surprised, doesn't have one at this point, and because she just recently resigned as CEO, I don't know the likeliness of them making a Stephanie McMahon pop at this point. Stone Cold Steve Austin does have multiple pops. There's too many to list down. Syxx, also known as X-Pac, doesn't have a Funko Pop. T-Bar doesn't have a Funko Pop, and I don't think he ever will. Same with Tamina. Ted DiBiase has a couple of them where they both have chases, and especially a new set of Common and Chases Diamond Collection exclusive to GameStop that just recently got announced. The Hurricane would be really cool as a Funko Pop. Doesn't have one yet. The Miz for the longest time didn't have one, but he does have one. The Rock has so many Funko Pops, especially with the newly announced Rocky Maivia Funko Pops. Tiffany Stratton from NXT does not have a Funko Pop. Titus O'Neil doesn't have a Funko Pop. Tommaso Ciampa doesn't have a Funko Pop, but I do see him getting a Funko Pop at some point. Tony D'Angelo does not have a pop. Top Dollar and Trick Williams doesn't have a Funko Pop. Triple H does have multiple Funko Pops, whether it is the original wave of WWE Pops, you have the one with the Skull Crown Chase, you got the DX singular and multi-packs, and there's some I'm probably can't think of off the top of my head, but they've made. Trish Stratus has 2 Funko Pops, one of a regular one and a diamond collection of that exact same version. Tyler Bate doesn't have his own Funko Pop. Tyler Breeze doesn't have his own Funko Pop. Ultimate Warrior has 1 Funko Pop, and I'm surprised they haven't made more considering you do a lot of different face paints. Umaga doesn't have his own Funko Pop, but would be really cool. Undertaker has multiple Funko Pops. I'm trying to get all of them, whether it's just the OG, some of the older Undertakers, the newer Undertakers, Boneyard. Like, there's a lot of cool Undertaker Pops. Vader does not have a Funko Pop, and I don't know if he ever will, but definitely deserves one. Valhalla, formerly known as Sarah Logan, does not have a Funko Pop. I don't think she will at any time. Veer Mahan doesn't have a Funko Pop. Wade Barrett doesn't have a Funko Pop. Wendy Chu doesn't have her own Funko Pop. Same with Wes Lee, X-Pac. Xavier Woods not only has the New Day multi-packs and then the white attire singular one, but they did make a up-up-down-down version that was a Target exclusive. Xia Li doesn't have her own Funko Pop. Yokozuna doesn't have his own Funko Pop. Zeus doesn't have his own Funko Pop, and hopefully he never does. And last but not least, Zoe Stark does not have her own Funko Pop for the WWE lineup. And that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video of me going through the entire 2K23 list and seeing who has Funko Pops and not, definitely like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite WWE Funko Pops are and if you're getting 2K23, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.